the dark side of Dubai and the United Arab Emirates. It promotes itself as a desert paradise and is set to become a mecca for Aussie travellers. But don't be deceived by the apparent tolerance of Western ways, because fall foul of Sharia law and you're in a whole world of trouble. Just like Australian Alicia Garley, jailed because she was raped.
Sex outside marriage, holding hands, even kissing someone on the cheek can be enough to have you arrested.
A kiss on the cheek and you go to jail?
A kiss on the cheek and you can go to jail. The worst horror stories are when women are raped and they go to the police to report the incident, and they are then accused themselves of having sex outside marriage, charged with the crime and possibly imprisoned.
You obviously hadn't expected to see her again, had you? You thought it was possible she might die.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I couldn't do a thing about it. My darling girl.
Alicia went here in the hotel to a senior manager and told him that she wanted to report the rape to police, and she asked for help to go to the hospital for treatment.
He said, if you go to the police, you could be in trouble because you had a drink. And so he sort of made me a bit scared.
Did he tell you at that stage that it was a criminal offence for you to drink alcohol?
No, he just said that you might have some issues with the police.
Did anybody from your employer say, Alicia, this country has crazy laws. We're going to get you out of the country and get you to good medical help overseas. This is our proposal. Was there anything like that?
No, nothing like that at all. They didn't even talk about giving me my passport back or giving me an option to leave. I said, if I want to go home, how do I go home? And they said that I had a debt to them because they'd flown me over and...
You're kidding?
Yeah, they'd flown me over and paid my accommodation and all that, and I hadn't worked long enough to recover those expenses.
So you've been raped?
Yes.
You're asking for your passport so you can get medical assistance?
Yes.
And they're saying you owe them money?
Yes.
Badly injured and in shock, Alicia was made to feel as if she was to blame.
When she tried to go to the human resource manager office, he refused to meet her.
And did you witness that yourself?
Yes, yes.
Confused and frightened, Alicia rang the Australian consulate here in this high-rise in Dubai. She didn't know what to do. She needed help from the Australian government. She didn't get it.
In legal documents, the woman Alicia spoke to at the consulate is identified as Gail Miller.
All she said to me is reconsider your need to be in the country at this time, and that if I had been drugged, there could be issues with drug laws in the country and that I could face life imprisonment. And I explained to her that the hotel was holding my passport and that I couldn't go anywhere.
Did she offer you an emergency passport to get you out of the country?
No. No.
She tried to get help, didn't she, from both the hotel?
Yes.
And the embassy?
Yes.
What do you think of the help she received?
Alicia was neglected.
Sue is Alicia's mum. Back in Australia, all she could do was try and comfort her daughter over the phone.
She'd say, I don't know what to do. I said, I don't know what to do. I couldn't help her.
Alicia Garley was in a strange country with no one to turn to, and no one knew of her plight. And that's because the Australian government was actively trying to suppress her story. They told her family not to speak to the media, not to make a fuss.
At the same time, hotel management was applying its own pressure, warning her against going to hospital or the police. But the pain of her injuries became too much.
I was in agony. I had 4 broken ribs on one side.
Four broken
ribs. I went to the hotel and said, I'm going to have to go to the hospital. They, at that point, said, well, the police will become involved. They became quite aggressive towards me.
So the hotel didn't even help you to go to the hospital?
No. I caught a taxi on my own.
At this hospital, Alicia was examined. Her injuries consistent with being bashed and raped.
They said, do you want to tell the police so that the men can be arrested, and I said, the hotel told me that I might have some issues with the fact that I had a drink, and they said, no, don't worry about it, you're a Christian, you're not Muslim, it's fine. You report the rape.
What Alicia didn't know is that being raped was essentially the same as having sex outside marriage where the sex is consensual, and that she would be charged with the same offence as those who assaulted and raped her.
Michelle James is Alicia's Australian lawyer. It was Islamic Sharia law that would now determine Alicia's fate and the fate of the men who'd raped her.
My understanding is that for there to be a conviction of rape in the UAE, that there need to be 4 adult male Muslim witnesses who can provide evidence that the sex was non-consensual.
You're kidding.
That's my understanding.
So a woman can only prove that she has been raped if there are 4 adult Muslim men watching the rape.
Who are prepared to say that the sex was non-consensual.
Alicia followed the hospital's advice and went to this police station to give a formal statement in the hope that the men who'd drugged and raped her would be arrested.
Did you realise at that stage you were in trouble?
No, I thought I was just signing my statement as to what had happened.
Is that statement in English?
No, it was in Arabic. I said, I can't sign this, it's not in English, and they basically gave me the impression I would be in trouble. He told me I'd be in trouble with the judge wouldn't like it if I didn't sign.
What Alicia couldn't have known is that the statement was in fact a confession to sex outside marriage, to damaging honour, promoting sin and drinking alcohol. As soon as she'd signed, she was taken directly to an Islamic court.
Then the 3 men who'd raped her, all hotel employees, were brought into the court, handcuffed. Alicia thought she was testifying against them, but she was actually on trial with them.
You think that these men are facing criminal charges for rape?
Yes. They came in with shackles.
You're just a witness?
Yes.
Nobody's told you that you're now under suspicion?
Yes.
As a criminal?
That's right.
But more importantly, why should any woman who's a victim of rape be accused of any crime?
Yeah, I know.
The trial lasted less than 30 minutes.
I didn't realise until after I'd finished giving my statement and I was being led into a different direction the way that I'd came. And I said, where am I going? What's going on? And the judge said to me, you're going to jail. And I said, what for? And he said, you drank. And I said, but I drank in a staff bar and I'm Christian. And he said, doesn't matter, you don't have any rights here.
You sure don't.
Alicia was sentenced to 1 year in jail, 11 months for sex outside marriage, 1 month for drinking alcohol. As for the rapists, 2 got the same sentence, the 3rd got a month more. During the day, Alicia could hear prisoners being lashed. At night, prisoners being bashed. In filthy conditions, she shared a cell with 30 other women, and she felt absolutely alone.
It was disgusting, no hygiene whatsoever. Sometimes they'd turn the water off for 4 days at a time, and when it's 55 degrees in the middle of summer, it was bad.
Alicia is not the only victim of an unjust system.
You know you haven't done anything wrong, and then that moment he told me you have to do a month in prison. It's shock, just absolute shock.
It's what traps many Westerners. A seemingly tolerant society that paints itself as free and easy. But it's not.
Charlotte Adams was in this diner when she found out the hard way that this country is not the West.
With 4 male friends, Charlotte came here for a late-night snack after an evening out. Earlier, she'd given Eamon, a fellow Londoner, a friendly kiss on the cheek to say hello. They finished their meal, they paid and left, only to be stopped by the police.
Well, they arrested you?
Yeah, there and then on the spot.
What did they accuse you of?
They didn't say anything at first. They didn't say anything. We got driven to Jebel Ali police station and they called us in one by one And then he was just asking me like what I'd been doing that evening. So I said, you know, we've just been out, like got some food. He was like, were you kissing him? And I was like, no. And he's like, did you kiss him? And I was like, well, we would have kissed on the cheeks to say hi. But apparently, as soon as I said we kissed on the cheek, that was it. It was like kissing on the cheek is illegal.
Charlotte spent 23 days behind bars before being deported.
It portrays itself as being really progressive and forward-thinking and the new Middle East, as they call it, but it's not.
Let me count the ways that Starwood, the world's second largest hotel group, the owner of the Sheraton and Westin brands, assets of over $8 billion, has let Alicia Ghali down. They failed to warn her of the risks of reporting a rape in the UAE. They refused to return her passport, so she couldn't even leave the country.
Some clerics have defied government bans to establish their own courts to decide divorce cases, child custody issues and financial disputes. Brian Seymour reports that's just the start, as Muslim leaders call for traditional Islamic law to be fully adopted in Australia.
What do you think of Sharia law?
Of course, Sharia law good.
In terms of what? Physical? Or
Hitting you.
He has hit me in the past, yes. He has hit me. He has hit me once.
Once only? Only once? So it means it's not a very serious matter.
You follow Sharia law?
Yes.
Is Sharia law number one or is Australian law number one? Which comes first?
Sharia law.
Sharia law comes first. All right, thank you.
Allah is God, is God, is God.
He swears that he doesn't mean divorce. So if he swears that he doesn't mean divorce, so it is not a divorce.
Which one comes first?
For me as a Muslim, Sharia law comes first.
If you say raja'tu, okay, it means that you have divorced her.
Look, I think what we're getting is Sharia law by stealth.
This story is about law, not religion, and the conflict when the two collide. Sharia law is being practiced across Australia. In every capital city, sheikhs are dispensing Islamic justice. We arranged to meet one of them, a sheikh in Sydney's West who presides over hundreds of Sharia divorces each year and adjudicates on financial disputes. At the last minute, he cancelled. So I showed up at his Islamic bookshop anyway.
This is Islamic State become, if you want to hear it in this way.
Australia basically is already an Islamic state.
This is Islam. Islam is to live your life
in freedom,
in a happy way, in justice.
Sheikh Musab Legay offers Muslims Sharia law from his base at the Islamic Welfare Centre at Lakemba in Sydney's West.
When you have many women that are having their babies out of the marriage, some people, they would say, we need something to find solution.
It's terribly disempowering of women and very destructive of our social fabric for that reason.
Sheikh Legay says he believes Australian law does rule our land, though like his predecessor, he does feel there is room for men to have multiple wives. Polygamy. That's what he was asking for.
Well, the problem is with this 13% extra women in Australia.
So you agree we should allow polygamy in Australia?
I don't call for it, but I call the Australian law to give the woman rights, not to find a man. Like when you have more men less than a woman.
To be able to marry a man who's already married.
Well, how can we find extra men?
I think it's seditious because it undermines Australian law, and really if we're going to have separate laws and separate societies, we can only expect to have more division and more lawlessness.
Vicky Jansen and her husband Michael live in the Melbourne suburb of Heidelberg West. They joined a community group named the Q Society, aimed at stopping what they call the Islamification of Australia.
It's the way we're to be treated. We are truly treated as second-class citizens. Under anything to do with Islamic law, women are not treated equally, non-Muslims are not treated equally.
Sharia law and Australian law, it will be a little bit contradictory.
Should we have Sharia law in Perth, in Sydney?
Yeah, you reckon, yeah?
We should have Sharia law. That's the issue causing concern and division. Can Sharia law coexist with Australian law so that we still have one law for all? And can we guarantee that Sharia law will not affect non-Muslims? Well, the answer appears to be probably not. There doesn't seem to be a diet Sharia or a Sharia light version over the long term. At least that's the experience overseas.
I swear by Allah that I did not mean and intend.
In Britain, Islamic courts like this one have operated for nearly 4 years under the Arbitration Act. Their rulings are legally binding.
I swear by Allah.
I swear by Allah.
The anger of Allah will come upon me if I am lying.
And the anger will come upon me of Allah.
If I am lying.
A recent report found women's rights are being trampled in these courts. Under Sharia law, a woman's testimony is worth half a man's. A daughter can only inherit half as much as a son. Guardianship of children automatically goes to the father at a preset age. Men can summarily divorce their wife. Women must fight for a divorce even if her husband is abusive. And on it goes.
This is just core to Sharia law, is the second-class citizenship of women. Women are lesser human beings, and so that is essentially my problem with it, and I think that should scare every Australian.
News Limited columnist Miranda Devine queries whether we can adopt only some aspects of Sharia law and then stop.
Sharia by stealth is really the way it's happening at the moment, and already you have, Islamic finance starting. There's talk of changing our tax laws.
I think we are being held hostage by a minor perspective, by a minor view, a minority view among Muslims.
Professor Shahram Akbarzadeh works at Melbourne University's National Centre of Excellence for Islamic Studies.
For most Muslims, Sharia simply refers to the spirit of Islam. It simply refers to the value system contained in Islam and Islamic teaching.
If you are asking without any reason, you must be sinful.
I want to do it the Islamic way. For me, that's the best way.
What comes first, Sharia or Australian law?
The Sharia is by God.
By God?
Yeah.
That comes first?
Of course.
Brian Seymour reporting. We'd like to hear from you on this issue. Should Muslims in Australia be ruled by Islamic Sharia law? If you think they should, vote yes on 1902 558 770, or you can vote no by phoning 1902 558 771. Lines close at midnight tonight. You can also vote on our website. That's yahoo7.com.au/today tonight. Now to